What a nerd.
Nerds.
Nerds. Nerds!
I'm not kissing a nerd.
What is a nerd?
Nerd!
Holy crap, are we nerdy?
Welcome to Nerdables to episode 127. This week, Chris, Ethan, and Sebastian and I are going to just open up the show, and we're not going to, whatever comes to mind, we're going to talk about it.
In short, we didn't plan anything.
In short, we didn't play anything. So, guys, what do you want to talk about? Did you see there was a Spider-Man commercial that somebody just re-aired from Amazing Spider-Man 2?
Yeah, it was the baby one.
With the baby one.
Yeah.
I'm like, I never saw that
I don't
trailer,
think
that
because
commercial.
it was done here. I think it was a.
It was a UK ad, I think.
Yeah, I think it was a British.
That was such a great commercial.
Yeah. Well,
But yeah,
yeah, but we get the Ant-Man steals a Coke
from
Yeah.
the Hulk.
from the Hulk. Hulk
That
Coke.
was still kind of cool.
Which was fun, but I also feel like it's like, oh, Mark Ruffalo, what else are you doing?
Yeah.
I don't think Mark Ruffalo was in that.
No, that's what he's saying.
No, yeah, it's like, what else are you doing? Come on, get in that
Oh,
commercial.
At least
I got
Paul
it.
Yeah,
Rudd.
because you see the
Yeah.
because you see the silhouette
Right,
of Banner, and I just like, come on, what else are you doing?
Well, all Paul Rudd had to do was read lines.
Right.
The
Yeah.
whole character CG too.
No, that's what I meant. But
Because you can ask
Well,
Lou
see,
Ferrigno
now
to
we
be
have
the voice of
news
the Hulk,
because apparently Jeremy Renner said he'd be open to
A Netflix
doing
show.
a Netflix show.
which is nice.
well,
Which is amazing.
he's also mentioned the fact that
Because he's also not Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah.
he's mentioned the fact that he would like to show up on one of the current Netflix shows too.
Yeah.
I don't know where he'd fit at this point.
I don't either.
Because he has no connection to any of these characters.
Yeah.
Really, even in the comic, he doesn't have a big connection to any of these characters.
Right.
But when people were, are we recording? What are we doing?
It's recording right now.
Okay. Are we
I'll
are
do
we
it.
going to insert the thing later?
I'll do an intro.
Welcome to Nerdable. When people were kind of talking about maybe having a Black Widow, and they're like, no, not the movie, Netflix series. I'm like, Scarlett Johansson demands like $15 million a picture. She's
Right.
not doing Netflix. She's just not. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Although now, what, Netflix is reportedly paying $90 million to get some movie? What was that
Yeah.
thing today?
There's a Will Smith's movie.
Will Smith
or
That's
something.
what it was. Yeah, it was Men in Black 4.
No,
Wasn't it?
No,
No.
it was something
Speaking of
else.
which, did you see what they're talking doing?
Is that silly?
They
21
want to
Jump
do
Street,
23 Jump Street crossover with Men in Black.
which is one of those like, why? Well,
Why
I know,
not?
cash grab, but really, like, really, why?
They
No,
want-
wait. Let's go back. What was the Netflix thing then?
I don't remember
Was
if they
it
said the name of the
Untitled?
project, but
I thought it
but,
was one of the.
But I do know, yeah, $90 million for Will Smith for a Will Smith movie.
Woo! I do like
Punch
that
the
they-
hurricane.
Hey,
Well,
they
I like that
offered,
they
they
changed
offered
that-
him more for.
They
Than,
changed that
Independence Day.
picture. They have like the group shot of the Suicide Squad, and everybody's really happy
Oh,
except
yeah.
him, and he's like, "Why am I here? What am I doing? I don't even know these people. I miss being the Fresh Prince."
But no, with the Netflix shows, I mean, they
Static
film
Shock
them like
better not
they film them
suck,
like a
son.
movie. So you're there for 3 months and you're done.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's even though the because more than one person suggested to me like, I don't understand why you don't think there's why wouldn't they just do a Black Widow series? Why wouldn't they just do a Black Widow series?
Scarlett Johansson probably going to ask for $100 million.
Scarlett Johansson is the highest paid actress in the world right now.
No, Jennifer Lawrence is.
Jennifer Lawrence is, and she isn't. Scarlett Johansson made $32 million last year in movies alone.
But I think
One
that-
way or the other, she's
yeah,
up there.
she's in the top five.
three.
Yeah,
she's in the top three. She's not doing Netflix.
Unless
She's
you,
not gonna-
unless you recast her, and how many people would accept the TV show version with a different actress?
yeah, I don't think.
well, that goes right to one of the things that
'Cause
the
I
Russo
would.
brothers was saying.
well,
this
unless
week.
you want to do the Yelena.
Yeah.
If you want to do the comic edition of the second Black Widow,
Right.
the blonde Black Widow, you could do something like that and have her show up just at the end. But even then, why are you doing it? Then?
Right.
No
Well,
one's really going to have that connection.
That's the thing is,
There's
like,
too many
yeah,
other.
I'm okay
yeah.
with recasting because I think that a lot of people don't trust in the idea that, like, no, if they were to watch Black Widow miniseries and you tied it into the lore properly, and you can even reshoot flashbacks or whatever.
They've
with-
done Spider-Man 3 times.
Yeah,
with three
but-
different actors.
Yeah, but I mean, you could even, like, you want to do a Battle of New York thing, and you don't want to reuse footage of Scarlett. You could just overlay the other actress on top of that scene, whatever, for the purposes of just a TV show. And when you jump into a movie, I don't think there are very many people now who would be totally confused about, like, why does she look different? This is bothering me. Yeah, sure. I mean, I can understand the feeling.
James
of trying
Bond
to go-
does it.
Yeah.
Doctor Who does it.
Right.
But did you see what the Russo brothers said this week about recasting actors to play
Yeah.
current superheroes?
Yes.
I thought that was really smart, though.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I've been saying a long time is that
They drop off the radar for a little
Yeah,
bit.
you're
and then
gonna
you bring
you're
them
gonna
back.
you're gonna get into that James Bond situation where they're gonna be like, my Captain America is this actor.
Mm-hmm.
If they just again, that's on the if they decide to continue for 30, 40, 50 years. But no, the idea that they're suddenly going to drop off because again, characters are name recognition. It's easier to change the actor than it is to bring in a completely new version of that character from a comic, which is still
Well, I mean,
we're
you
still
could do it
looking
with
at,
Spider-Man
But
and
you've also
Miles Morales
seen-
Spider-Man.
Yeah, but you also seen.
Here's the thing: Miles Morales' book only sells maybe 30,000 copies.
No, that's a different. You have a comic book establishment already of people donning the costume.
yes.
As I said, you can let Chris Evans go and put what's his face Sebastian Stan as Captain America, and I think people would accept it for a movie or two.
Yes, and
And
then
see
you go
where
back.
it goes, or whatever you want to do, or you do. That's where you recast Steve Rogers. I mean, we've seen Spider-Man in different. None of them have been in continuity, but he's going to be the third actor to play him in less than 10 years. So.
You saw it with
But
the
also,
Hulk.
like I think with
And the Hulk.
like,
Yeah, nobody freaked out when they changed the Hulk from.
Well, the Hulk freaked out.
the Hulk freaked out. Yes.
He hulked out.
well, even with those two characters, it's like both Spider-Man and the Hulk. There was time in between each set of movies to kind of give people that space between
That's true.
to kind of accept.
But I
it
also
as a
go
reboot.
in terms of like acting caliber. Edward Norton is far more famous than Mark Ruffalo,
right.
and I go like again, nobody. There was. I'm sure there were freakouts, but
Well, when they
but then
first
you-
announced Ruffalo, people were like, "Really,
Really,
him?
him?
Why?"
yeah,
I was one of those
exactly.
people. I was like,
But
Yeah.
but then again, it's one of those things like nobody cares anymore. You can still watch the Incredible Hulk and then jump into the Avengers or whatever, and not really be bothered by it at all.
Yeah.
because it plays into, for me, the biggest thing about comic books is that 1 week Spider-Man looks lanky and very sort of like got a runner's build, and then the next issue you may get like a super muscular, really tall Spider-Man, and it's really just artist interpretation. So they
Well,
they
you've had that
lend-
for years.
yeah, and they lend things to the role, and I don't think anybody would freak out.
Well, that was the
No
thing
one
when
freaks
people
out
were-
with the different Batman.
Well, yeah, that's it. Well,
Well, they
freaked
did-
out for the,
Well, except
and
for when it was
well,
Affleck.
that's the
They
problem.
Freaked, they freaked
though.
out for Ben Affleck, but Ben
Now
Affleck,
they're going, oh.
But it's not like Ben
They probably
Affleck is
freaked out
taking
for
over for
George
Christian
Clooney.
Bale.
Right, it's
Right.
a new
it's not that
incarnation.
it's not
The
that
thing
set
with
of movies.
yeah, but what you're talking about in terms of artists doing things differently, I think, is why it's so stupid to freak out over Ben Affleck or Gal Gadot
Right.
or Jeremy Renner or Hugh Jackman, where you're like, in one issue, Wonder Woman is buff, she looks like a female bodybuilder, and the next she's lean and lean and sinewy. Some she has a gigantic bust. Some she has a fairly normal size. I mean, it's
the artist's interpretation.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
no single interpretation.
Right.
Adam Hughes' book, where he's like, I love Alex Ross's, warrior armor thing that he did for
Yeah,
Kingdom Come, and
yeah.
then says, I can't draw her like this. I hate it.
Yeah.
I hate doing these. So he stopped doing it.
Yeah.
He put the boots on. He's like, I really don't want to draw the bottom of her legs. I don't want to draw her feet. They put boots on her for that sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, there was something else that they were. Oh no, they mentioned that there's going to be possibly 3 post-credit scenes.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's all stuff that they may like. I'm sure that stuff they could tack on to the end or
But see,
save.
One of the things that was really weird was because they're still working on the script for Infinity War.
Right.
So there's nothing set with that yet. So what they're saying is that after the release, there could be a switch in the post credit scenes if they find something that they think would work.
Yeah, I can see
I mean,
that.
they've already got an outline. They know where they're going.
Right.
Right.
I mean, you didn't have Infinity War written at the end of Age of Ultron 2, where Thanos was like, "Oh, I'll do it myself.
Yeah.
The hell with this."
Well, you don't. Yeah, you
What
don't
have
need
been doing
to
for
have,
the last
yeah.
10 years, buddy. I'm like, come on.
This is a really long invasion.
Yeah.
It's the whole thing that you always say, with Khan and everything like that, where they've been around for a while, they just haven't done anything.
Well, it's
so
just
all of
like-
a sudden, now's the time.
Well, right. It's if you
How are
don't-
you tied to Ultron again?
Well, also
for
don't
some
stop
reason?
and think about it for very long, because you're like, why would you allow anybody else to go get the rings for you? There's nothing written. Like, it would make sense if Thanos was in prison somewhere,
Right.
or if he was in another universe or something, where he could just communicate
Well, it
and
kind
say,
of shows it like when he in I forget if it was Thor: The Dark World, where he talks to the one guy. It just makes it seem like he's getting these guys to do it for him because
Right.
he
That would be
doesn't-
Guardians that he
Or is it
talks.
Guardians?
He talks
Okay.
to Ronan.
Okay. That he was like, well, basically go get it for me because I'm your ruler and you need to do it.
Right, but that makes no
That kind of
sense.
thing.
But
because
Thanos is
hold
all-
on, they haven't. There's nothing that they've put in there that says why Thanos can't go get it himself.
Right.
He's a demigod. He's more powerful than all of them.
But
That's-
Thanos
again,
has always
you don't-
had his brood to do stuff.
But it doesn't matter. It doesn't make any sense.
No, I get
Within the
that.
story that they've established, and this is what I keep talking about in terms of lazy writing or not thinking straight. At some point, you have to say, why can't Thanos just do it himself? Until the writers go, okay, we're going to save Thanos. The only reason Thanos isn't doing it is because they're saving Thanos for the Infinity War.
Right.
So there isn't a real world. I'm sorry. There's a real world reason. There isn't a movie world reason as to why he's not.
Because he can't get off his throne.
But he can
He's
because he
lazy.
went to get up the thing.
He's just lazy. So
It's just if he
No,
was
it
doing
would've been
if
great
it
to
was
have
a
him in prison
consecutive
or
sort of
something.
thing. That's what I mean. If he's imprisoned or if he's in another universe or what have you.
But
I mean,
that's even
the-
better. Put him in
even
another
the-
universe where they, an alternate universe. Then you establish that connection already.
for me, I wanted to see, especially for Age of Ultron, thinking about it much later, because they did tack on that scene at the end. I'll do it myself. Like, you had nothing to do with this movie. It was completely incidental that they decided to pull whatever out of the gem that
Right.
make robots magical kill machines. But I also go, why not?
Plus, they can hold hammers for no reason.
Yeah, but it's also for me, it became one of the things like, why didn't they just, there was that great episode of Superman the Animated Series with the Brainiac, the first episode with Brainiac, where Lex receives that transmission from deep space, and it's schematics to
Right.
build a machine, and I immediately went like, why didn't, that's the perfect out for Thanos sending a signal, oh, we're not alone, of course, maybe there's more aliens out there. And then Tony Stark builds the Ultron robot, and the Ultron robot goes to find the gems on Earth.
That's an interesting turn.
there are
twist.
clever outs
Yeah.
that were just not used, and then all of a sudden he's like, "I'll do it myself." Oh, so was Ultron part of the plan? Why are you here?
Well, we've discovered that with a lot of
This
things
movie
we talk
also
about.
didn't. This movie didn't connect to any of the previous films.
No,
either
because
in
the Soul
Phase
Gem
2.
seems to be because it's the same thing. The blue gem in the beginning doesn't really do anything. It's not until it was after the fact that you
They
realized
opened
the
it up and
Tesseract
then it was
yeah.
inside,
They're like,
yeah.
oh, the Tesseract is a gem.
Yeah, and then even the scepter had the
stone.
gem inside its own
which
stone.
which
Right.
was able to what gave its power for Loki to control
it's the
people's
wrong
minds.
power.
No, I got it. I know that.
I mean, that's the thing. The Tesseract power shouldn't be the power that's in his scepter because the Tesseract should be space.
right.
Because
Right,
of,
'cause
and
it-
not
it's-
because of the
it's
color, but
transdimensional.
because it's transdimensional.
They
It's a
said they already
doorway.
said it was a doorway.
Yeah. So if he's tapping somebody, so it shouldn't be
That
the
should have
gem
been the
power,
mind gem.
It should have been. Well, it either should have been a different gem or it's Loki's own power through the scepter.
Well,
I mean, that's
the scepter had the mind gem in it, because then when they opened up the blue gem in the scepter, it had the orange mind gem that goes on to
That's,
Vision's
that's
head.
right.
that's yeah, that's
right.
the mind
That's
gem.
right.
That's not
Okay.
the soul gem.
yeah. I thought that because that's what I thought that was.
Yeah,
supposed to
because
be
he
the
like
soul
cracked. Yeah, like at some point he cracked it open, and it was like
It would make sense to be the soul gem.
yes, it would make sense to give Ultron
yeah,
a
'cause it
soul.
gives-
Or even to give Vision its soul.
Yeah, exactly. And it didn't work out that way. But that was my biggest beef. Was like Phase 2 had good movies, but none of them connected for that final.
Well, look, the best movie
Age of
in Phase
Ultron.
2 has no connection.
Yeah, well, even Guardians even has a very tenuous connection. Just like
The Guardians connection sucks because it's the same thing. Thanos is like, yeah, Ronan, go get the gem.
get the thing.
And then Ronan gets the gem and goes, I'm not giving this to you. What
Right.
are you out of your damn mind? No, I'm keeping this.
But then that's the
I wanna
only
go blow up-
reference
yeah,
until
right.
you get to Age of Ultron, and then he's like, "I'll do it myself." What? Why are
Yeah,
you?
because he
here?
hasn't been
Well,
sending
Civil
any-
War.
home.
Civil War really will have no connection other than maybe a post-credit scene.
Well, because they said the ending would be controversial. We talked about it a few weeks ago. One, either Chris or yourself mentioned it. I'm getting the feeling that
Think.
someone will die, but then they'll come back in in the
Infinity
Infinity
War.
That's
War.
why I say Cap dies. In it.
I have a
I
sneaking
keep
suspicion that
getting
something like that may be correct.
Like I've been saying for the last 2 years that I think Robert Downey Jr. dies, Tony Stark dies in the first Infinity War.
And then they
because
recast
You have
him,
to put that
like
stakes
they've sort of
in
already.
there. But as I started thinking, yeah, I would not be shocked to see the ending of Civil War to be the same as the comic.
Right, and then the big reveal in like part 2 of Infinity War is
Well,
Cap.
it's because of the reality gem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He can, if Thanos can rewrite reality with that gem,
Right.
he can rewrite making the mistake of bringing him back or whatever. Because the whole point, if you read Infinity Gauntlet, the only reason the heroes have any chance at all is because Thanos enjoys the game.
Right.
He allows himself to give them an out to see if they can take it. And supposedly just before it, he's going to stop.
Right.
The mistake he makes is getting overconfident. And he ends up giving the glove to Nebula, ends up taking the glove from him. and then it just keeps going
Yeah.
from there.
Right. The overconfidence will be this bringing Cap back.
Yeah, it's just like I can change reality and I can bring back your heroes. Here you go, and Cap will be the one that gets the Avengers together, picks up the hammer, and smashes Thanos in the face, and he goes, "I'm the only one." Oh wait, no, I forgot the robot.
Right.
Yeah,
well, this move sucks.
but even in Ultron, they made the joke. Well, an elevator is a robot. Is basically a
Right,
robot,
no,
you
it
know,
was
or what,
just-
however they stated it.
It was no.
If you put the hammer in an elevator and the elevator goes up there, therefore we're picking it up.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it's the same thing. If a fly is in your car, a fly can't go 65 miles an hour.
But
But
it
if a
is.
fly is inside your car and
It's
you're on
going.
the freeway, you're going 65 miles an hour because of the physics of the inside of the car, which I don't understand. I'm pretty sure Sebastian does.
This will take a long time.
Okay. He's not denying
See,
it.
it's breaking the fourth wall while you're breaking the fourth wall.
No.
That's the eighth wall.
Yeah, I was about to say,
Or is it the
that
16th
really
wall?
the
Is it four,
eighth wall?
Maybe it's 4x4.
Maybe
it's
the 16th wall.
Ooh.
Sam Neill's in this movie.
'Cause you
Sorry,
gotta-
we,
you gotta
we
square it.
have The Hunt for Red October on in the background, and I keep peeking over. It's like, I keep forgetting there's so many amazing... Tim Curry's
Tim Curry's in this movie. I didn't believe Tim
Tim
Curry was in it
Curry.
when it was on a couple weeks ago. I'm like,
Sean Connery.
Sean
Is that-
Connery.
but we all know
and
Sean- we all
Alec
know
Baldwin, Sam Neill. Sorry, that the weird diversion. I just look at oh, Sam Neill's...
plus the
Well, that's why this show's open to
one of
whatever
the
we want
other-
to talk about.
One of the other henchmen is the guy who plays a Russian in everything.
Yes.
He's got
yes.
that little tiny oval face.
Yeah.
He's a Russian in everything. I do love that they first start speaking Russian, and they do a great job in this film instead of just doing
cheesy.
Well, instead of just doing
Subtitles?
subtitles the whole time, they do that thing where they're talking and right in the middle of it switches to English. But then all of a sudden, for some reason, the captain of the Russian sub has a Scottish accent.
Because you're
It's right.
using a universal translator, so you're hearing the way you think.
Well, since Sean Connery's on the air, we should talk about the biggest news:
okay.
So-
Indiana
Guillermo
Jones
does a fall.
5.
Yes,
Indiana Jones
I was
5.
going to ask if anyone wanted to mention that.
I
We
think it's-
don't know
Well, Sean Connery
anything.
will
All we
not be
know
part
is
of it.
it's Steven Spielberg and
Harrison
Harrison
Ford.
Ford.
and David Kopp
Yes,
is apparently writing
is
it.
writing it.
And Kathleen Kennedy will be the
Be the
producer.
And apparently,
And-
George Lucas is so distraught he's sitting in a mall eating
Eating-
food in
George-
Australia.
George Lucas is hungry.
That was such a great picture, though.
It's because look, the man has a gajillion dollars.
Yeah,
He can eat whatever he damn well
yeah.
he's
pleases.
sitting in a mall food
George
court.
Lucas, you look at someone like George Lucas is not going to go to like Chez La Bon. He's going to go to a mall and he's like, "You will get
Tim's
me a Diet Coke.
Tacos. Tim Tacos.
You will get me a Diet Coke."
Did you see?
But it's also for me. It also is one of those weird things too, where it's like seeing hover hand in pictures. It's like,
Yeah.
dude, just don't paparazzo take a like. Look, he's eating by himself. Just casually go over and ask for a photograph. Nobody else recognized him or
Yeah.
cared. So, dude, go over there.
because they're all going. Is that guy cosplaying as George
That's
Lucas?
not George.
It's the
It's the Lex Luthor would never believe that Superman could be Clark Kent, because if you're Superman, why would you ever be
Hide
Clark
as
Kent?
Clark Kent.
It's the same thing. George Lucas is not eating at a strip mall food court because George Lucas would never eat at a strip mall food court.
Even
So
though
that
he
can't
completely
be
looks
George
like he
Lucas.
should be.
And that is George Lucas.
and it is George Lucas. It's that it was my biggest pet peeve. Just like, dude, just don't paparazzo him. Go take a photo. You
Henry
have a
Cavill
chance.
walked down Times Square in a Superman T-shirt
Look,
with pictures all
Look,
around him of Super.
Henry Cavill walked around Times Square at 3 p.m. on a work day in the middle of New York where no one would give a shit.
Yeah, those people are busy.
Also, I didn't recognize him without the mean glowing eyes.
He wasn't
But that's the
murdering
thing, also.
anybody.
He was in two reel of color.
Yes.
No,
That's the
you-
thing, and it's in New York. In New York, nobody cares about who's walking down the street.
You're
with
in
them.
Times Square.
It
Times
doesn't
Square.
matter.
Times Square is
No,
full
no.
of
It
tourists.
wasn't. Did you see the video? It was 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a work day. There was the video around him. Literally, like 3 people walked
That
by
is
him.
true.
Nobody was there. Of course, no one's gonna recognize him.
They only kept him out there for those three people.
Maybe somebody gone. It's because you're terrible. That's why nobody likes you.
Hey, Superman, you gonna murder me? You suck.
Oh God! Did
You
you,
gonna tear up my
did you
city?
see? God, one of my friends
Totally lost
posted
the
a
whole Indiana Jones thing.
one of my friends posted a great. It's like the two pages from All Star Superman rewritten as Snyder Superman. It's the one scene where he's visiting children in a hospital, and one of the nurses is like, "It's like, please don't hurt the children. Do whatever you want. Just please leave." And then
Don't pick him up. Don't pick him up.
and then the second one is the girl who's going to commit suicide, and she drops the phone down, and then all of a sudden Superman flies by, and there's a huge explosion, and she falls off the building.
That's awesome.
It was one of those like, yep, that.
So Indiana
that's
Jones.
about right.
Was anyone upset about this news, or
No,
I don't think there's any
I was
reason to be
expected.
upset
It was
because it's-
expected.
Look,
does anyone think it's a bad idea?
It's not a bad idea. I just think that it's something that should be left alone.
Yes, I agree.
that's the only reason to get mad. But here's the thing: every time, if you have a franchise like this, you have a franchise or anything, Star Wars, is anything, you have the potential to make a decent film. We've talked about how Indiana Jones 4 could have been a decent film.
Yeah.
If they had really
Thought
latched
it through.
on to that idea of making it a little more serious, making it a little bit, not darker necessarily, but the idea of bringing in the new sensibility. He's been through World War II. He's fought the Nazis before World War II. He's now gone through World War II. He saw exactly what Hitler was going to do. At some point, he's like, I'm really glad they didn't get the Grail, and
Grad?
they didn't.
He's glad they didn't get the Grail.
They didn't get.
Oh,
they
he's
didn't get the
glad.
Grail. They didn't get the Ark of the Covenant because they pretty much killed 6 million people anyway. His legacy as a grave robber, as that sensibility's changing. I mean, it could have been a much more different film, and it wasn't. It ended up being a horrible Marion and a stupid kid and weird,
Swinging like
weird.
Tarzan,
Yeah.
too.
So who knows
CGI,
what you can
CGI
do?
ants, CGI apes.
CGI apes.
I could forgive the CGI ants. It was just that whole swinging with the
No, that was terrible.
that was
That
horrible.
was awful, but I also can't forgive the CGI ants because it's one of those things like if you can't make it look good. I mean, CGI gophers at the beginning of the movie too, where it's like if you can't make it look good, try something different.
I just don't understand. Like, you couldn't afford gophers.
Right.
Like, there's got to be some
You
animal
couldn't-
wrangler
you
in
couldn't get
Hollywood that's
You
just
couldn't
like,
Muppets to make
couldn't
a
have gone to the LA Zoo for 10 minutes and
Yeah.
then shoot a plate of
just
of
put a
the
green screen
gophers.
plate behind it or whatever. So I don't have high expectations, but I didn't have high expectations when I first went to see Pirates of the Caribbean. I'm like, I really enjoyed that film.
But
So-
do you think this is Spielberg's way to fix the Indiana Jones legacy?
No.
No.
I don't think Spielberg believes it's broken.
I thought.
Well,
the big thing is Spielberg was.
he's openly admitted his
Yeah.
his understanding of why people didn't like the previous one.
Understanding that not liking
Re-
it doesn't
but
feel like it's
Redemption,
broken.
Yeah, Redemption I think is a little strong.
I think it's looking at it and saying, we want to do another film.
But you don't think he'll go into it like JJ went into the
no
Star
no.
Wars?
Because I mean when you hear
Because
the
it's the
story,
same person.
when
JJ's trying to fix some, quote unquote, fix somebody else's mistake.
Right.
This is JJ Abrams is, if George Lucas did episode 7, he would have never come out and said, well, I have to do it right because I fucked up the last 3.
Right.
He would have never admitted, and JJ didn't either. All he said was, we're going to do a Star
I'm just
Wars
remaking Star Wars. I'm
Yeah.
remaking A New Hope.
Yeah.
again. So no, I don't think it's. I'm sure they were aware of it, but I don't think either of them would actually believe
My God, that
we're
is so
fixing something
bad.
that's broken. I don't think they think it's broken.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
No,
I think what they, especially when you know like or when you hear about the arguments that Steven Spielberg and George Lucas had, especially like, well, what about Aliens and the refrigerator that George Lucas forced in the movie?
Well, even the disagreements for number 3.
Even the disagreements for number 3, and it's
It's
one of
also where 4 started. I mean, the disagreements for 4
Right.
started right after 3, in which George was saying, I don't want to do this.
Right.
Right.
I don't want to write another movie. You know how hard it is to come up with one of these? Like, what am I supposed to do?
Right.
I had 2 religious artifacts, and then a religious artifact I had to make up from a religion that I don't really understand, that I have to bring a cult to. What the hell else do you want me to do? And then said, if we're going to do it, we're going to do Aliens. No,
Right.
we're not doing Aliens. Spielberg and Ford, right after Last Crusade, are like, we're not doing Aliens. There's no way we're doing Aliens. Well, then George's like, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
And then 20 years later, decide, well, we need some cash.
yeah.
So let's do pan-dimensional
Although,
beings.
but here's the thing: I also do wish, well, partially pan-dimensional because the flying saucer at the end was very real. Like, and here's the thing: is like the original title of the movie was Indiana Jones and the Invasion of the Saucermen,
Right.
And right around the time of Roswell, and I really feel like no, if you're gonna do it,
That could have been cool.
let's actually go for it. Like, okay, there's sightings, we got Roswell.
That was that's what Lucas wanted to do 20 years before. In
Right.
reading the making of, when I bought the book that has the
and
making
you can
of all
have the
4.
crystal skulls too. You can have your
Yeah.
cake and eat it
I
too
wouldn't.
on
I wouldn't
that.
have even done it
His-
unless you're going to do that as the beginning
because
artifact.
the crystal skull is the alien bones.
Yeah, what he's talking about. This is what Lucas wanted to do a few years after Last Crusade. He said, we're going to jump forward. We're going to get out of the 30s. We're going to skip over the 40s, and we're going to go to the 50s.
Sure.
And we're going to make a movie that basically everything around it looks like a B movie science
B
fiction
sci-fi.
exploitation film of people not believing that there's saucers, that there's aliens, that sort of thing, and putting it in there and having Indiana Jones versus the saucer people. That was supposed to be the original plot, and apparently Spielberg and Ford are like, we're not doing that. There's no way. That just sounds dumb, and it's so unbelievable. And I had the same problem. I remember the first time I saw Last Crusade, and I'm like, how could that knight survive for like 900 years?
Yeah.
And then forget that the first film has a dude whose face melts off.
Right.
And the second film has, I've got the heart in my hand as the guy's still alive being dropped into lava, but some reason the knight was what bugged me. I don't
Because he
understand.
knows what the cup of Christ is, so he's been taking little sips every now and then. He can't leave with it, or he's going to turn into bones.
My thing was, where
That
did he
was-
go to the bathroom?
It's probably a little.
There's a
tiny-
gigantic
little-
gorge next to him.
Yeah, he could poop down a gorge.
He's just sitting there. He just gets on that thing.
He goes
and
over
just
to the leap of faith.
like, trust me, you don't want to fall in there.
He's doing a really good
It's the
core
latrine
squat.
of faith, is what it is. It's a latrine of faith.
Just reading the Bible over and over again.
Indiana Jones falls off the bridge and he's like standing.
It gives you immortality, but the curse of immortality is you can't leave this building. So
Yeah.
just let me die.
Come
Come on, we can save you.
No, but if they would have done it and they would have based it off of the pseudo real events of Roswell,
right,
it would have been pretty cool.
That's what it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
And then they did.
and they didn't do it, and I just feel like missed opportunity. And there's also things like there was a
I think so much of missed opportunities. in
Indiana
that
Jones.
character.
Indiana Jones and the Emperor's Tomb is one of my favorite games. That would have been ripe.
That
There's
game is so
A lot of
it's
people
so good.
wanted that
a lot
to
of
be.
Chinese mythology.
Yeah.
There was the Infernal Machine. They did an
They had Frankenstein's
The Atlantis.
monster. They had Atlantis. they
again. There's so
had-
much there's so much good. Like even if they
And they
didn't
even-
copy those,
Even within the game, the first levels in South America feel like the cold opening before the
Yes.
credit.
Right.
You know, it was that same idea of this doesn't really have a connection to the rest of it. It's just getting you used to the controls. And then he gets back home and finds out he has to go.
there was even that.
to
What was
China.
the Wii Indiana Jones game, which was also really really good.
I don't remember.
That
I don't remember.
That sort of jumped into like first person fighting with the Wii.
Yeah, you had to use the
controllers.
whip.
Yeah.
The controllers of the whip.
It was actually a pretty fun game, and again, it's like there's so much you can do, and I feel like
So what would you do?
what would if well, I want the story where he loses his eye because as far as we all know, the TV show is still in continuity. They even mention it
Yes.
in the thing, and like you say, old 90-year-old Indiana Jones, he's missing an eye. It's like let's get some badassery, let's raise some stakes, have him lose an eye on an adventure.
Does he lose the eye with his own whip? Does he just go, dang nabbit?
Cut
Well,
my
that's
chin
how he
and
got his
lost an
chin.
eye.
We got to explain the scar.
But would you take it up to the point where,
I would, and
and then because then now you're having basically if you continue on like Disney wants to do is do more Indiana Jones movies.
Yeah.
Would you do it with
Tom
the
Selleck.
new young Indiana Jones? Basically, you're doing the young Indiana Jones Chronicles again.
I wouldn't. I don't mind if James Bond. Like, I don't mind if somebody else takes on the role of Indiana Jones, as long as we're still getting those period adventures, because there's still a lot of untapped stuff, and we know what even the weirdness. With the weird chronology, what Indiana Jones 4 takes place just after the episode where Harrison Ford actually did come back,
right.
in Young Indiana Jones, or he did that episode about like the jazz trumpet. So I mean.
So would you recast Mutt and have?
No, I have no Mutt. His story's done. His story's done, and he had a fine closeout. Whatever you want to do, he's going to live his own life. He doesn't want to be
Shia
like his
LaBeouf
dad.
is unemployable.
So I'm fine with that sort of being the end of it. I would also bother me that they brought Marion back too. It's like no,
That's
we
the
would-
Marion part.
The Marion
big
was
problem
horrible.
because the Marion part. The thing with Raiders is that he leaves Marion again because Last Crusade takes place after Raiders.
Yes.
So he knows at some point him and Marion are done.
done.
So that to bring him because the beauty of the original, especially when you take Raiders and then you take Temple of Doom, and Temple of Doom is the best prequel you've ever seen because it really did establish this is how crappy and terrible and just a bad human being Indiana Jones is for the most part. Oh, he saved this kid. Yeah, but he makes him his servant for all intents and purposes, but he does save him. In
Right.
the beginning, all he cares about is the diamond. He doesn't care about Willie. Everything changes the moment that he gets on that platform, walks over, and sees all of these children who are slaves, throws the rock at the thuggy, and everything changes from there.
If we're gonna go nostalgia goggles, I say do another. You could do a story in China, and you can have an adult short round who, in the expanded universe, becomes an archaeologist like Indiana Jones. Because Indiana Jones adopted him, take care of him, paid for his schooling and stuff like that. So again, you want to bring that character back. You want to have you want to draw audiences in for that cash grab. Yeah, you could have an adventure with old Indy and a 30 something short round in China solving an adventure. Have something, have something really fun.
Yeah.
And that's again, what do you do? There's so much mythology to choose. You could go South American mythologies with the Inca, the Aztecs, Central
I'd love
American.
to see them do that because they really have never. I mean,
Ancient
you
China.
did.
Well, that's the thing. Kingdom of Crystal Skull ends up in South America.
Yes.
Right.
I think the Far East is the best way to touch because they've never really done it. He was
Right.
in Hong Kong in the beginning of Temple. My point with Marion, though, is that because of the prequel, when you see him go back and find Marion in Nepal,
Got to get her out of that toll booth. Got to give her some work.
when you go to
She's out of the
Nepal,
crazy ward.
the way that he treats Marion is very much of understanding. I did something wrong. This,
Yes.
I shouldn't have left you. I shouldn't have left your father the way. All of that, and it feels more real when you really watch those movies in chronological order, and that's why episode or Last Crusade. There's pieces in it because he's still trying to redeem the relationship with his father and stuff like that.
Right.
But then all the action's just really campy, and it ends up being
Right.
not as great a movie. As
But
people remember it
you
to
could have even left it where you didn't know if he was with Marion or not at that point too.
except for the fact that he sleeps with.
Oh, that's
Elsa.
true. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Forgot about
I
that.
had it first. I'm
Alice-
also not married, you son of a bitch.
Allison Duty.
Yes.
Who did like one other film?
Yeah, she was Jenny Flex in James Bond film. She was in
Oh yeah.
Okay, so but if you
with
could
with Christopher Walken.
Hello.
if you could narrow down one storyline or one type of story, what would you want in your Indiana Jones?
I would go either Eastern European, lots of weird mythology you can pull from there, especially like Romanian.
All the stuff that's in Hellboy.
Oh, yeah, because it's fun. Or, in fact, you know what? I would like to see a Guillermo del Toro directed Indiana Jones movie. Let's go weird.
That would be interesting.
That would be really.
I
good.
would, or I would.
He has
I
to
would,
get through the 85 other films that he swears
he swears
he's
going to
do.
do.
No, I'm doing
Or
Pacific
I would
Rim
do
2.
either ancient Chinese or ancient Japanese.
Indiana Jones.
because we've
or
already- I
Dracula's
think-
tale.
I think
we
if
already
you're-
got India.
If you're going to do something now, if you're going to set,
Well, I was
it
gonna
in-
go around and
in
ask
the
everybody
50s,
what you
hold on,
thought.
But if
Yeah.
you're going to do it in the 50s, I'd love to see Japan
Yes,
because
Post-war
he went
Japan.
through World War II.
he did.
So he would have a weird reaction, although he would probably be fighting in Europe or whatever he was doing.
Uh-huh.
We also
with
need to
Ray
know
or
how
whatever.
much time, how much time are we going to push past Crystal Skull?
Because
Really?
when is Crystal Skull? Early 50s?
Yeah, like 19. It's a
53,
right around
isn't it?
right around Eisenhower. They're about to elect
Okay.
Eisenhower because they're
So
doing
if
the
you're
rallies.
doing, well, the problem that you're running into is if you set it close to that,
You
you're
wanna
in the
do
middle.
you
Well,
could
you're
do
in the
like-
middle of the Korean War.
right,
That's
you
the
could
other
either do-
problem.
which is weird, or you could. I mean, if you want to push it to the 60s, you could do like the tech boom in Japan, where they're finally sort of moving into like they had the modernization, but there's
See,
still a
and
lot
that's
of,
where you're
of-
starting to run into
of tradition. But then you have like okay, but then how old do you want to make Indiana Jones? Because again,
If you make it, let's say you
Harrison
make him
Harrison
Harrison's
doesn't
age.
age the way that Indiana Jones has aged. So what do you do?
Well, let's say you make him 70s.
You're gonna make him.
You make it,
70s?
yeah. So you make him his dad's age.
I
and-
still, then again,
Well,
Sean, Sean Connery also looked much better
Yeah.
for his dad because
That was
they're only
wasn't
separated-
it Crystal Skull? Harrison Ford was the same age as Sean Connery was in Last Crusade.
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
But then when you look at it and you go like, oh, Sean Connery is really only 10 years older than Harrison Ford,
Right.
making it
Yeah.
impossible for him to have been his father.
Right, Ethan. What would you want?
What would
good
be
movie.
cool would be like Greek mythology, maybe.
That'd be cool. I wouldn't mind that. There's a lot you could do with that too.
Indiana
Yeah,
Jones and the city of Atlantis.
That was what everybody
Well, even-
thought
but
it was.
even
That's
some-
what there was a lot of
Uh,
talk of that.
There's a lot. Yeah, there was a lot of time. There's stuff you could do though. You could pull out different sort of like mythological items, like the sword of Damocles. There's things you could do.
Yeah, see, I think when you try to
Indiana Jones versus Walt Disney.
he's going to lose that one. 'Cause Walt Disney already owns him. That guy's always the Russian.
Yes.
I'm always Russian.
So, Chris, what would you want?
Russian guy.
I'd go to Japan.
You could do Japan.
I'd do Japan and Japanese mythology and Japanese folklore. Do something in that because there's not. If you're talking about Greece, they haven't done that yet. But he's been in Italy.
Right.
He's been in Northern Africa. He's been in Europe. He's been in South America. So you've kind of touched on everything else. You haven't touched on anything Eastern.
But see, the one thing I'm
Apart
worried about with
apart
it is,
from Temple of Doom, which is India in Asia.
Yeah, I mean he's
But
in Hong Kong, but the only thing he's in
Yeah,
Hong Kong
Hong
for
Kong
is the
for, like-
cold opening. That's not
Yeah,
a big
and
deal.
that's just him finding because in fact in the Emperor's Tomb, the first mission in Emperor's Tomb was him finding Nurhachi's remains to give
Yeah.
and then you jump past Temple of Doom into
The interesting
later
thing is,
story.
if you go back and read the books that they were releasing at the time, his helper, the guy that has the gun,
Yeah.
he's in one of the books as like his helper. He befriends him and everything, and then you realize that's the same character.
Yeah.
He's about to get a skewer in his heart or whatever.
He gets
Or no, he
shot.
gets
the problem
shot. He
with
gets
shot
shot.
with, like,
the
a
problem with it
Derringer.
is if you start to go to the 60s and stuff like that, you have the world modernization.
Yeah, I know. Again, we got to look at they're going to put makeup.
Unless
on
you're going to
him.
do Indiana Jones and the Moon Man or something, where he goes to
Indiana Jones goes to the moon.
he goes to the moon.
I think if you do
Indiana
early
Jones
60s,
and-
This is also one of those things too, where it's like, how, like, I gotta
because
look
if you're
at the
talking in
chronology.
real time, if you're talking if you set it in the mid 50s, you're in the middle of the Korean War.
Correct.
It's going to be tough to be in Japan. If you set it in the 60s, you're in the middle of the Vietnam War. It's still
Right.
tough to put it in Japan. You have to find that kind of mix in between, where Americans were going to Southeast Asia before the end of the Korean War and then before everything that happened with Vietnam. I mean, you can have something interesting
Do you
here,
make
or
him?
you
Do you
Hong
make him?
Kong.
Do you make him weirdly ageless?
Indiana Jones and the hippies.
Damn it.
Indiana Jones and LSD.
Because George Hall played him in the TV show as a
Yes.
93. He was shown as Indiana Jones at 93. Eye patch, and he's got his grandkid. So
You could always do
Mutt
it.
has kids?
yes.
You could always. That's where you could
yeah,
go
you
with
see,
it.
yeah, see his granddaughter. She's like 5.
Ooh, that would be good.
No, but she's 5 when he's 93.
No, but you change
no,
that.
No.
That's how
But-
late did his son have some
But
kids,
there's what
man?
you do. It's Indiana Jones with his granddaughter.
Laura Croft.
No. I did look. We've
Well, you
already
can't
seen,
do it
but
because
here's the thing.
even right now they're wanting to do Daisy
But
Ridley,
you've
cast
done-
Daisy Ridley as
Yeah.
Lara Croft.
No, you've done.
Like, there's your beaver shot or your.
Just hit me in the
go
back.
for
Of,
a shot.
Hit me in the back of the head with a
Isn't that what
shovel
they say in
for
porn?
another
Yeah.
Tomb Raider
Beaver shot.
movie.
There is.
Hit me in the back of the head with a shovel for another Tomb Raider movie.
They've already
Those
done.
first two are just so awful. It's
Oh, what are you
I'll
talking
stick
about? They're
to
the greatest
games.
movies ever. They've already done a film with a familial relation, and it was terrible.
Yes.
The whole Mutt thing was.
But if you're going to
worthless.
carry on the legacy and do a legacy film,
You're not going to do a legacy film. You already did the legacy film. It's called Last Crusade. That's the legacy film.
yes,
That's one of the problems with Crystal Skull. You're looking at going,
they already did this.
wait, they kind of already did this, and they didn't do it in a good enough way where he's sitting there saying, I don't want to treat my son the way that my father treated me. Well, of course you have to, because you have no relation with him at all.
Right.
And he's a greaser for no reason.
Because it's 50s.
Because 50s, and he's in college, sort of.
I like Ike. Remember that thing that your parents talked about, your grandparents talked about? Ike?
I just think the
Ike Turner?
modernization
The,
of
the, red, the Red Menace? All that stuff?
the
the-
guy who beat Tina Turner? That
Yes.
guy? Ike
Yes.
Turner?
I think the modernization of
changes
the world
everything
is going
now.
to make it very hard what decade you put it in. If you're going to keep going with his
do,
age,
well, here's the thing: you do have an upper limit.
if you recast it,
but you could also do a story that's just before Crystal Skull if you really wanted to.
Yes.
yes, you could. What do we think of the
CG.
the final three of?
It's Kevin Flynn.
Just
Kevin Flynn. Just
The-
have him voice CGI face.
do the what do you think of the final three actor nominations for Young Indiana Jones?
Or young, young,
No,
Harrison Ford.
young Harrison. I mean, young Han Solo.
Han Solo.
Matter of fact, would you cast one of them if you're going to redo Indiana Jones?
That's tough. That's tough.
Whoever you cast as young
As Han Solo.
I would say you have that be your new Indiana Jones
as well.
Yeah,
It
That's
depends on how good he
That
is.
would be a fun contract for that person because they're like, I got to be in 2 franchises. Yeah,
Lucasfilm owns my life.
as much as I like Chris Pratt, I don't want him. You put him in that Star Wars,
If
then it's
if you were going to
So Indiana Jones
Recast,
is 93
basically
at some point in
remake.
the early 90s.
okay.
So,
so
yeah.
he's born so he was born in just after 1900
So yeah, he was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because
born
he was a
1899.
teenager when he goes to war.
Yeah.
He was too young. He was like 16 when he went to fight.
So
in,
official chronology.
France.
So looks like what it is 1992 is the episode where you see him as an old man. Is where they're sort of.
so if he's
putting him.
93 there, he was born in 1899
Yes.
or 1900, one of the other.
Yeah.
Interesting. If you were going to basically remake Indiana Jones,
Yeah, he's born in 1899.
not reboot Indiana Jones, remake Indiana Jones. That's the correct terminology. Chris Pratt's a great idea.
Yeah.
to
Yes.
me.
Oh, no,
Because
I
he's
agree with
got-
that.
He has
And,
the
and
look.
you'd also, it would probably be a little bit different. You're not going to have. I don't think if you were to do Indiana Jones now, you'd have the same gravitas that you had.
My
in
big
1991.
worry. My big worry is
Three.
again like even with Jurassic World, like trying to give Chris Pratt some jokes. jokes, and that's my biggest fear. Is like, you're gonna do Indiana Jones isn't really a joke teller.
But let Chris
What does it
Pratt
say?
be
You-
Chris Pratt.
You're gonna
No,
have.
but that's the problem. I don't want Chris
If you're-
Pratt to play Chris Pratt even in Jurassic World. He was kind of just Chris Pratt, just slightly more subdued.
It's like Jack Nicholson. Jack Nicholson just plays Jack
right,
Nicholson
and
in
that
the last 15
I
films he
like
did.
Chris Pratt as Star Lord, and but my problem is like once I got into Jurassic World, I was like, he's trying his hardest to be serious, but they still give him jokes.
Right.
And my biggest worry is the moment you give him a role like Indiana Jones, like how many jokes is Indiana Jones going to have this
I say
movie?
you probably wouldn't.
And
do,
it's not Chris Pratt's fault.
You wouldn't.
That's the
do
people writing
that,
because they have Chris Pratt.
you wouldn't do that film in the same vein. I don't think they would. That's the thing.
You can't because nowadays you can't
but
have the slowness
it's,
in it.
it's
of the
Ghostbusters. The Ghostbusters is
Right.
going to be comedy first, horror second,
Second.
rather than really putting horror just above the comedy and finding a way to meld them in really well.
the pacing of modern films will not allow you to do an Indiana Jones movie like what we were
No,
accustomed to.
I see. I don't believe that, and I don't believe that strongly enough. Just the trends that film studios put on themselves and create are not the same trends that people in movies, I think, distinctly care about.
Now, do you
I think
think?
I think Raiders you could. I mean, we've seen some films like when we watch Neverending Story. I remarked that a third of the way, and I'm like, "There's no way you'd make this picture today because
That's
you
what
don't even see him go to the other." He's got his dad comes down, and they
Uh-huh.
have breakfast, and then he gets in trouble at school, and it takes him like an hour and a half to find the damn book and open it.
Yeah.
Something like Raiders, though, I think is close enough to a modern pacing. I mean, that middle part, they do a great job of the exposition's all out in the middle, and that's the end of it.
Yeah.
Right.
And as I was rereading and Cracked over the week, there was even more about why they don't touch the Ark, because there was supposed to be a scene where they explained very simply why you don't touch the Ark at all,
Right.
like even the outs. Why is it always carried by poles? Why does nobody touch it until the very end when they remove it? And it wasn't just because the angels are going to come out and kill you. It was like you would die or something like that. I was like, oh, they just took that part out. They're like, just pick
No,
up the damn
last
Ark.
week,
Nobody
last week,
pulls.
Ethan and I watched Smoking the Bandit, and there's, it's all practical. Obviously, it's all practical events. There's no explosions when a car rolls over or anything like that. You could never make that movie.
I
Yeah.
don't believe that because of Mad Max Fury Road success.
But there were still big explosions. It
Yeah,
was
but it wasn't-
overly done with
not
things.
really-
Cars don't explode like that.
No, they don't. But it's not really any different than the previous Mad Max movies.
No, but a movie
I
like
think it's a
Smoking the
little faster
Bandit.
than something like
It's
Mad
it's
Max
a
or
little
Beyond Thunder.
it's a little faster paced.
That's the thing. The pace of that is much bigger.
is
than
much different. But
Mad Max
but,
or Beyond Thunder.
But the framework, I don't. Especially
That's
when you
different.
look.
The main reason I was saying it though, when I was telling,
I don't
Rich-
think you could make a movie like RoboCop or Total Recall again
They
because they tried and they tried to make them really serious, and that's why I think the trend. I think if you make a good movie, people aren't going to care about the tropes within the movie as long as you're making something good. Again, Mad Max is a beloved film franchise, and then when he comes back to do a fourth one, he's not trying to reinvent the wheel. He just has more money.
Right.
Well, yeah, but it's also I think you have a different sensibility. It's just a faster movie. The reason Total Recall as a remake fails is it fails to have Arnie and it fails to have the greatest Arnie line ever, which is
It fails to tell the same story.
It did fail to tell the same
because it
story.
never goes to Mars.
Yeah. If you're going to
part of the first one is get your ass to
your ass
Mars.
to the Mars.
It's like they're watching that film. Get your ass to Mars. Hey, is that in the director? No. Okay, cool. We don't have to follow that.
Now I get what they wanted to do. They wanted to remake the movie, but if you're telling the same story, basically, remake the same, not necessarily take the same script, but try to follow the same plot.
And you know why I don't think it would. Why I don't. Here's my other argument for why I don't think it worked. Because Crystal Skull is a movie of the changing times that takes on all of the silly tropes, silly jokes, and whatnot, and it falls on its face. Even when you look at something like the Star Wars prequel trilogy as a film set, it's like those have a very modern sensibility of jokes. People went to those movies and were disappointed because they didn't get the classic feel.
I've always said with the prequels,
They got silly aliens. You got a kid swinging in the trees, with a monkey. Things all children love that
Right.
people keep saying. People don't have the patience for the old Star Wars movies anymore. People don't have the patience for the old Indiana Jones movie. And then when you give them something modern, they rejected it outright.
yeah, I've always said with the prequels that they always felt like they were too big and too wide. Because when you have the original trilogy, when you look at it, they're in the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon. They're all pretty much crammed in there. There aren't like showing like the whole when they show the Queen's
Yeah, see, I don't.
Yeah,
none of that
even the
stuff-
cockpit of her.
Story is the thing is
It's just
the
too
prequels-
big.
Well, the
No,
prequels
I
try to
don't- I
tell a
don't-
much bigger story.
They try and tell. I don't think it's. But I don't think it's so much that. I'm the kind of person that goes like, I wish those prequel movies went even deeper into the plot. If we're gonna make these political thrillers with
Yes.
a little bit of action,
That's the thing. I didn't say they
Go-
did it well.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
saying
go
they
whole
tried.
hog.
Sure.
That's why if you read in the book series, if you read the Legacy of the Force series, that there was the three authors that did it, or four authors that did it. All of a sudden escaped. Karen Travis did it. I think Greg Bear, whatever. Anyway, that story they never do that as a film because it is there's a lot of character stories going on, but there's this huge overarching story of the Republic basically trying to become the Empire to a
Right.
certain degree.
Right.
What's going on politically between them and the New Jedi Order? What's going on between them and the Imperials? What's going on? I mean, it's a big grasping story, and it's fantastic because it's the Star Wars universe you know, and it's giving you a story that you didn't see very often. This is what the prequels tried to do. And I think it was in a text blast that we had at one point, and I was talking to Travis with it, saying the problem with expanding these sort of things is we look at a character like Yoda and going, Yoda's kind of, what, really? He just
Yeah.
kind of let this happen? Amazing. All these characters that you loved, and you look back and go, well, no, I mean, you kind of, yeah, Kenobi kind of sucks, and this person kind of sucks. So it's
That's why I was so amused when that the Darth Maul short came out, and it's all flash and no substance, and everyone fell head over heels for it. It's not badly done at all, so
Right.
I don't want anybody to sort of misinterpret that I think it's bad.
no, it looks fantastic.
But then
it's not going to be a movie.
But the same people who took pot shots at the prequels are falling over themselves for the short film. It's like, they basically gave you the exact same thing, all flash, no substance, and even Force Awakens was as deep as a pothole.
Hey, I've seen some pretty deep potholes.
Yeah, and so it's one of those things like, so I go like,
There's one right outside of the chamber with all of the...
especially
Ow.
because I don't want to make it too much about Star Wars. Is that like I'm so baffled to see the same people who hate on the prequels love that short film, love The Force Awakens when they are both equally as shallow and as poorly made, less flashy when you go to the prequels. But I go like, really? You hated the prequels, but then you see the way you love in The Force Awakens. He just gave you A New Hope all over again with less depth
Yeah.
and introspection.
So
So it's been interesting to see the Star Wars fandom still chew George Lucas out, but love the same things that he would have done, just done by other people.
yeah. Speaking real quick with Star Wars, and we're talking about the prequels and things like that.
I sort of feel like it's that Steve Jobs quotes. The audience, they don't know, the consumer doesn't know what they want until you show it to them.
Right.
And
Oh,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
It's like yeah, none of you know what you want.
Chris, you mentioned Yoda just a minute ago with the prequels, and how could you let him let this do that? You let him, or why would he let this do this? One of the beloved characters. But Ahsoka makes a comment to that in one of the Rebels episodes just recently, where she was like, talking to Ezra about Yoda, and she says he always seemed like he knew that there was a change coming, or that it was going to change from one thing to another.
There's a lot of that type of stuff there. Problem is, you look at...
Do you think that the Clone Wars
can't
tried to
remember
fix some of the
no,
prequel?
they're just talking.
I think it's revisionist
It's just,
history.
it's just
on
an expanding
parts of the-
story.
Yeah,
But that's the thing is, as you delve deeper into this sort of thing, the hard thing is when you establish those characters where you're at, and then you go and do prequels. This is why Temple of Doom's a great prequel. They
Right.
really looked at that film and go, "We're going to make a prequel in which, if you really watch it, Indiana Jones is a completely different character for half of that movie than he is in Raiders."
But even at
You
that
have a
time, it wasn't
prequel
considered
here,
a prequel,
right? But you have
it wasn't considered
here.
a prequel because they didn't really have a word for it necessarily.
Most people didn't even realize
there,
it.
there was no zeitgeist for it. Everyone always just saw it as the second Indiana Jones movie.
Yeah,
but
they
right
didn't
at the-
really.
right
you
at
had
the
to really
bottom,
pay
it's like
attention to
19
figure out.
Yeah,
that
and right
it's
at the
done in
bottom it says
1930.
like 1935. I think
Right,
is
but
Temple of Doom.
I think that's the really only indication that it's prior to,
Yeah.
other than the way Indiana Jones is.
right.
yeah, it's clearly before the war.
Right.
So it was
Oh, we
interesting.
missed the best scene where they used the stock footage of an aircraft that doesn't exist to explode on the aircraft carrier here in Hunt for Red October. Anyway,
It's Fred Thompson, former governor, and guy from Law and Order.
And
He was a
senator,
senator.
and
Was
passed
he-
away.
he was a senator.
He was a senator.
Yeah.
and presidential candidate.
That's the weird. Did you see the video of Al Franken yelling about the Republicans blocking
Yes.
the? And I watched that, and nothing political. I don't give a one way or the other. I'm watching it going, that's the guy who used to be on Saturday Night
Live.
Live.
Yeah,
That's the guy that told me to go, I'm good enough, I'm strong enough. People, gosh darn it, people like me. I always remember him in the first Iraq War because he was the one-man satellite.
Yep.
And there's the great one where he's getting people together, and it's the soldier, John Jones, is about to see his baby for the first time, and the soldier is white, and she picks up the baby, and it's black. And then he realizes it's the wrong person,
Yeah.
and then he's just like,
It's the-
I can't believe she cheated on me.
It's that
bitch, and he's going crazy, and then she's like, "That's not my husband. I don't know who that is." And it's just like this great, just chaos going, and he's just like off camera, "That bitch, I can't believe she did this." Like, no, that's not the right person. That's the wrong person. It was so great. It was just, but then I'm looking at it going, he's a U.S. senator.
He's a U.S. senator.
He's
yeah.
a U.S. senator sitting on the floor in some sort of very weird, terribly slow. I mean, I'm watching it going, what the hell
Where's
is he talking
where's
about?
the joke? Where's the SNL
No,
skit come in?
it's a very, I don't know if it's a filibuster or what. He's trying to point out that back when Clinton put a nominee in or whatever. Anyway.
Yeah.
It's like I'm sure
But-
it's like the Back to the Future divide. Like Ronald
So-
Reagan, the actor.
The actor?
I'm sure that anyone born after Reagan is like, oh, President Ronald Reagan. Everyone
Right.
before that's like, remember that time
Remember
we
when he
elected
was in that movie?
an
That
actor as president?
No, my parents knew him as an actor.
Yeah,
Because he was,
remember-
people don't really
Remember when he
realize
was a
how
cowboy?
big Ronald Reagan was one of the biggest
Biggest actor,
stars.
yeah.
Yeah.
He was huge. And then
became
well,
governor of California.
He became governor of
and
California.
then he became president.
I wonder if there was another actor who became governor of California.
Me.
I did it. People tell me it's so stupid. You know, governor.
People
there's
won't
no
talk
one-
about that
No,
election.
people will talk about it. They're like, no, there's never been an actor who's done anything in politics. It's like, it already happened here in California. It's the greatest thing that's ever happened to me, except the end.
I mean, I got another actor running for president.
yeah.
Trump, because he got TV shows.
Oh, right.
He got
reality star.
shows.
I said if Trump
followed.
would get the nomination and he would choose Palin as his vice
He
president,
would shoot
we'd
himself
have
in the-
two reality stars.
He would shoot himself in the foot like the last presidential candidate who put her up. Oh God,
John McCain.
John McCain, who seems like a decent human being, and I feel so bad because that felt like a decision forced on him, and just like what with my
You
campaign?
not to delve into political debate. You want to know what's wrong? That's part of the reason. It's that party is just that everything that went after the first Bush when he is the only sitting president in years to not be reelected. If you want to trace back where the Republican Party just completely fell apart, that was it, because the group that he was their champion or whatever was the moderate group. It was the Sun Belt Republicans.
Uh-huh.
It was the Southern what they called Southern.
Welcome
Southern
to
Republicans.
Nerdables, where we talk politics.
And when that happened, when he lost, everything changed.
Yes.
And
It's because he didn't know what a
everybody
barcode scanner was. He ruined his political career going to that grocery store.
And now the Republicans are going, can we vote for Obama and let him have a third term? Because there's no one. So anyways,
Anyway.
young Harrison Ford, young Han
Yes,
Solo.
John Harrison Ford.
Of the three.
I don't even know who the three are.
One of them was Mr. Fantastic from the terrible Fantastic Four. The third terrible Fantastic Four one.
Has there only been three?
No,
It
I
feels
thought,
like
I,
there's
thought,
four.
I thought he's no longer part
No,
of
no, that's why I said he was one of them.
Yes.
He was one of the ones in the
I was about
running.
to say Ian Groffman? What?
No,
Yes,
no.
Ian Ruff.
You have
Close.
you have Chris Pratt, the actor that was in The Kingsman, which
What's his name? From the remake.
Chris Pratt seems way too old.
yeah. The other two guys are like young, a lot younger, like early 20s.
What's the other two are like early, like mid 20s.
Are they going to put prosthetics on their chins?
One of them
to make
was
them-
one of them was the guy from the last Fantastic Four movie who played Mr. Fantastic,
Mr. Van
who then
Bus-
came out and said, "I'd never seen a Star Wars movie until I auditioned for the role." It's like, well, that's why
There's a lot. Well, what's her face did that too. The one who plays Captain Phasma. Everyone's like, "Oh, she's so fantastic." She's never seen a Star Wars film either.
Yeah,
I have no idea what this War of the Stars thing is.
I forget the actors' names now. Shit, are you looking it up?
No,
No.
I was, but
Does it matter really who plays?
I think they should do the James Bond route. Go unknown. Just don't pick a guy with a big face.
Yeah.
Sebastian is now young Harrison Ford.
I don't want.
See?
I don't. I,
See?
re-
It's so
I,
easy
re-
to do.
I,
As
re-
long as he
I
has a small
refuse.
face,
I
Sebastian's
refuse the
okay.
responsibility of that.
As long as they have a small face, they can't have a wide face. Or
We're home. Can I?
That's what Sebastian's saying. Don't use someone with a big face. Use someone with a small
Yes,
face.
yeah, literally,
Like
literally
a
a
small
small
face.
face. I don't want.
you
No,
got
so
a-
no, Chris Pratt, he's out. He's got a huge head.
You got a small head.
Hey, did anyone watch the Lego Star Wars thing with the First Order and
I missed
Poe?
it. I didn't want to see
No.
that.
It was pretty good. There's actually a reference to C-3PO's arm in there in the comic book. I thought that was pretty
Well,
cool.
I lost my arm, and they gave me one off another robot.
He
That
said,
comic book is now scheduled for the end of April.
he said,
Hey, it's really hard.
It's 5 months
It's
late.
really hard to tell the story about why he has a red arm. Don't you know? We gotta. It's
He said
gotta.
that's one of the we were going through the stuff from $6 tees, $6tees.com, and one of the tees is just the red arm, and it just says unrecognizable under it. Like, that's fantastic.
You know what would be funny though?
I
is
just
if
want-
it just comes back out and like C-3PO was helping paint a fence or something, and his arm just fell in the vat of paint.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's why
I want it to be incredibly anticlimactic. Like, oh, it's what like robot surgery. It's like he sprayed like don't remove the red arm, keep red arm. So I'm painting it, and then I never changed. Just like people thought the red arm was snazzy. It made me look a little cooler. So,
I don't know, but it better be a good
They-
story.
I
I know it's not going to be,
It
but
doesn't. It's one of those things like it's so trivial that I go like, so Princess or General Organa is now so lazy that she doesn't give him a nice good gold sheen again.
Yeah.
It's like he just looks like rusty and decrepit in that, and it's like,
Well, especially the point that he has the gold arm, and 4 scenes later,
yes,
like they're like, oh no, we're not going to repair this. What? Oh, Han's back. Damn, we better fix that arm. Get that arm fixed up. Bye, Ray. We'll see you later.
and then he goes. He goes to host the Oscars. He does a little.
What
bit,
I wanna
and he
know
doesn't have the red
is-
arm either.
well, because that would be after the fact.
What I
Yeah.
want to know is like, does he have a blue arm in the next film?
Is there going to just keep?
And then,
Just
and then,
changing
like a
it.
green arm.
Be a
And-
different color arm
Change it
movie.
every scene.
Apparently, what? I
Or
guess,
just go for it and give him the battle droid body in episode 2. Like, we went back to this.
see every
Oh, no, I've
movie.
lost
that-
my head.
Every movie, something happens to him where his body changes. I think, except for episode 3, nothing. He doesn't lose a limb or anything.
That's how droids go through puberty, different color.
So,
It's
so
like
you had to
Futurama.
do
They
something because he's
upgrade
not
it.
in many scenes. So you had to give him something. Let's give him a red arm. All right, there we
Well,
go.
you kind of figure that out in episode 2. You're like, we've kind of stopped figuring out how the droids matter.
Yeah,
Because they just don't matter in any of
They,
these
they,
films
don't, they don't
anymore.
operate under any system of mechanics. Just like, oh, you can just change their heads, and for some reason they take on their personalities of the robot. But like I was like, oh my goodness, like
Die, Jedi, die.
Yeah,
Whoa, what am I saying?
The body is murdering people, but the head is like, oh my god, what's happening? I have no.
who has control here?
Yeah, and then he starts saying, "Die, Jedi's die," and he's so confused. Poor bastard.
So, anyways,
Poor.
no, wait. The battle droid says "Die Jedi's die." Battle droid head. The C-3PO is like, "I'm sorry, I can't."
No, because
he says it.
yeah.
He says it.
C-3PO goes, "Die, Jedi, die, Jedi scum," and then he's like, "What am I saying?" And then the other robot's like, but then the other robot
must be
doesn't act
malfunctioning.
all fobby. He's just like, I must need maintenance. I can't move my arm so good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been a while since I've seen that one. It'll be a while longer since I see it again.
Ever since Sebastian told me about the program to put my DVDs on my iPad, I've been doing that in the first movies I started. I put all 6 of the Star Wars movies on. And as I'm going to the gym, I'm just watching these in order. So
So you're finally watching them.
I've seen them before.
Ah.
watch
So
them, like,
I guess the only
20
other
times.
big
Short-
thing.
Hold on,
It's also the same
hold on,
universe that
hold
they
on.
make funny robots on
Hold on.
accident.
Hold on.
Right?
Oh,
The
these-
last 3.
At least there was
for
a reason
young,
for it,
The
isn't there?
last 3 for Young Han Solo are Alden Ehrenreich. EHRENREICH.
Enrich.
Jack
Enrich.
Rainier and Taron Egerton.
There's
Not
no
Chris
Chris Pratt?
Pratt and not the guy from.
Yeah, Fantastic Four guy. He dropped out. Or
They had
he
Chris
got
Pratt's
rid of him.
picture up there last thing I
It's
saw.
Not it.
I'm sure that.
Alden is from Hail Caesar. Jack Raynor is from Transformers: Age of Extinction. Oh God, was he? He got
No.
fat. If he's supposed to be the Australian boyfriend, he got really fat. And then yes, Taron Egerton is from The Kingsman, who he was pretty good in that.
I liked him in that.
now I wanna see.
Who's the other guy in Hail Caesar? 'Cause
That's the what's his name?
Oh, he was on.
Alden and Reich.
He was on Conan O'Brien talking about it,
okay.
and he was like talking about how unexpected it was that he was going to get the call, that he got the call and everything. And it was just like so super excited.
And he's not going to get it.
If he's good, if he's good enough for the Coens, he's apparently probably not going to be good enough for Star Wars.
Right.
Which is how that works.
Oh God, what was I going to say now?
What were you going to say?
I was.
Funny robots.
Oh, funny robots. At least with Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, they gave an explanation why
Yes,
they're.
they're purposefully programmed.
Oh my
Yeah.
God! It is so. Jack Rayner is the terrible. Oh God, he was the terrible Australian boyfriend who stops the movie midway
To tell him
do
that he's
20
got a
minutes,
card.
like, it's all right that I'm having sex with your daughter, even though she's only 17, because I got a card. Because I started boinking her when I was 17, while she was 14, apparently. So there you go. But yeah, the picture that they have on the website that showed me the three of them at the end, consequenceofsound.net. He looked like he decided to spend that money on hot dogs.
So, anyways,
Armor hot dogs?
I guess the only other thing that we could,
Armor hot dogs.
that
Demolition
we could-
Man. I want another Demolition Man movie. Let's talk about Demolition Man for another hour.
really,
One of the greatest films in the 1990s that has circled back
and
in
you
terms
know
of
what,
societal
it
changes.
had Arnold Schwarzenegger as the president.
It did. It did.
As he
that-
should have been. If it wasn't for him banging a Guanamate, it would have been. They would have rewrote the Constitution.
You
for
the
that dude.
Constitution. The Republicans at this point would probably want him.
Yeah, no, I'm going to do to be president. And then,
Hey, if they were gonna let old Marco Rubio give it a shot.
Yeah.
Rubio.
Daredevil
Daredevil.
season 2 premiered this weekend.
Awesome. I'm done.
I've seen 2 episodes of it. Chris, you've seen.
I'm shocked that Rich isn't done. I'm shocked that we're actually recording and we did not get a phone call or a text message.
Don't
Like
talk
a
about
year
Daredevil,
ago.
I'm not done.
Hey, by the way, Beth and I are just going to finish Daredevil. Don't bother coming over. 3 hours after we ask, are we doing dinner? Just one more episode.
well,
one more
we didn't
episode.
pick up my phone until
Just
then.
one more episode. Just one more episode. Hey guys, I'm just going to stay home and watch Daredevil. Good luck.
So
And then
anyway.
Ethan gets mad. He's like, "Oh, I was gonna eat. I don't have any plans." And you texted me, and I'm like, "Dude, I already ate."
I'm sitting there.
I figured at the first time he said, "Oh, I'm just gonna watch one more episode of Daredevil, and then you guys can come over." I'm like, "Fuck it, this did not happen."
My thing is, like, I send a text out, and I'm like, okay, so are we doing anything for today? And then 5 hours later, he's like, no, well, me and Beth are just going to sit in and finish watching Daredevil.
Well, because
No, he said something before
Yeah,
it
and it was
because
like 8 at night.
no, he said something before it because I remember I saw that first text, and I'm like, "He's done. I'm not gonna wait around." And then hours later, he said, "No, we'll just stay here." And
Yeah,
do
I think I was
whatever.
on like episode 9 or 8 or something.
Whatever you were at, but
Yeah.
it was just like, nope, we're just going to stay here. And I knew it because it would be the same thing where when you did Breaking Bad, and
Yeah.
I just kept getting text messages at 1 in the morning. I don't understand why you're not doing Breaking Bad. Because I have a job, and I have to get up in the morning, and you don't. So you just watch Breaking Bad for 8 hours straight at night.
Oh, I was watching 14 hours at one point.
That was just insane.
I watched the whole season
I
one
did.
day, and I was like,
I did 4 episodes yesterday, and I did episode 5 this morning. So I've still got a ways to go.
yeah.
Yeah, I get to episode 11. So I think I got 2 more.
Of course, I'm also the
There's
one
13
that
episodes.
still hasn't watched Jessica Jones and didn't finish the first season of Daredevil until when did you go to Zion? Like a month ago?
Yeah.
Because I finished it here after I was like, oh yeah, I still got like 2 episodes of Daredevil left. I should probably watch that before the second season comes out. So yes, second season came out. The rumors of it dropping early were all false. That got to be really annoying.
What?
'Cause Thursday morning, like my page was filled with, I guarantee you it's going to drop early. It's going to drop early. It's going to drop in a couple hours. They're
Yeah,
going to
nothing.
print in a couple hours. And I was like, they're not going to. Well, they did it with Orange is the New Black. Okay. That doesn't mean they're going to do it with every show that they have. And I'm sure Orange is the New Black was probably something where someone had already leaked it.
Right.
I know for like a lot of, this is what ended up happening with music albums, where they were releasing music albums early because they were already pirated. I think like Eminem had that big one. He was like, I'm not doing it Tuesday. It was already in stores as it sits in a locker waiting to go out on street date.
Right.
And then they told all the stores, put it out because it's already out there. It's already on, all the RIP sites. So I'm sure that's what Orange is the New Black was. But I didn't think it was going to be early. I did find myself at 9 o'clock going, regionality? Ah, crap. Stupid time zones. Because I tried to get one in on Thursday before I had to go to bed to go to work on Friday. But
I was hoping to get something on Thursday, but I didn't. Well, you guys like the new the casting for Iron Fist?
I do.
I don't remember who it was.
I do because again, it's that unknown. He can bring something to the role without.
I love him.
expectations.
I love him in Game of Thrones.
Yes, he's good in Game of Thrones, so I'm
What is he in
satisfied
Game of
with him.
Thrones?
The Knight of Flowers,
Natalie Dormer's brother.
Oh, I don't know. I never got that far.
Renly's lover.
I never got that far. I don't know what else to tell you.
Yeah, I
The
think he's-
king
maybe
now.
if we tell you
His first
someone-
season, the wannabe king was banging the other dude.
I don't remember.
The dude that he was banging is the Knight of Flowers,
Good for
is the new Iron Fist.
Yeah, I don't. All I remember from season 1 is, hey,
Which-
there was a
which is
battle
also
and we
his
didn't see
porn
it.
movie
the
too.
dragons are coming. The dragons are coming.
We swear there's dragons. They're coming.
Um,
Who was it
Okay.
that said that Game of Thrones is terrible? Oh, there was someone who came out this week and was like, Game of Thrones is just nudity and dragons. But someone, I think, who was cast in it.
really?
Gosh darn it.
No, he didn't say it was terrible. Oh, it was one of the actors. Oh, God, he was Blackbeard in Pirates of the Caribbean. I forget his name.
Was it Ian McShane?
Ian McShane.
Yeah,
He's going to be in it this season.
yeah, and
Yeah,
he was basically he basically
They say it was terrible, but he was just like,
he
it's
said-
all nudity and dragons.
He said basically he gave away who his character was going to be, and everyone started yelling at him on Twitter
Yes.
and Facebook, and he's like, "It's just nudity and dragons. Get a life."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Thank you."
Speaking of the Marvel Netflix TV series, I know that I had no signal where I was camping this weekend, and all of a sudden there was one spot in the
You
campsite.
got it, and it was like,
And I got
you're like,
30
Chris is an
text
idiot.
messages.
Did you guys check out they put the Luke Cage teaser for this year, September 30th, I think.
It's
is the
September
season.
30th, yeah.
They put the teaser trailer at the end of Daredevil. Very, very cool.
Oh, I haven't seen that yet
It's just-
because I haven't finished it. So that's
Yeah,
why.
nope. There's no plot or anything. It's just
There's no plot in the Luke Cage series. It's just Luke Cage walking around going, sweet
no.
Christmas.
It's him in a gym
I
or
just
something,
want-
and then
I just-
people open fire on him. He's like, I'm getting really tired of having to buy new clothes, and that's how they end the teaser.
Yeah, I
Like-
think that's actually a shot. And I think that's in the. I think it's Empowerment and Iron Fist for him.
yeah.
But does he have a tiara? That's all I want to know.
I would love.
I want afro and a tiara. That'd be the
My
greatest
dream was Danny Rand and Luke Cage in a '70s buddy thriller.
That would be
Oh,
amazing.
God, that would
buddy
be great.
action.
That's
But
gonna be like
I'll never get it, but it's okay.
that could just be like its own 2-hour special.
Okay, so
Where
what
they
the
just-
hell?
They do it.
Okay,
they do
so
one
what
episode.
what Rich is talking about is 2 days ago, the day that Daredevil premiered, so Friday, there was an article that ended up getting picked up by a number of geek sites.
Yes.
Because I found it on comicbook.com.
Was it another wrong article?
No, that's the article I'm talking about. This is what Rich is talking about. Is that
Is
the
your-
article's going around saying that Disney and Marvel announced new
Moon
series on
Knight, yeah.
Netflix, that it would be Moon Knight, Brother Voodoo, Spider-Man 2009, Miss Marvel, and something else that all of a sudden I forgot. So I saw it. I thought, okay, that makes sense
I'm
because it's
so
the
glad
day
you
of.
got it.
It was so great. It was the day of the Daredevil premiere. Didn't look at the date and put it out there to us. And I'm not the only one because as you start scrolling through
Oh, I
the
know.
next day, there's a whole bunch of people I know in terms of personal pages that said they got fooled by it. And it's something like it was on one of the bigger ones too. It was like one of the Newsarama comic book resources or something put it up as fact. And
I stopped
every single
following
one of it is
Newsarama.
just look at the date. And I
Yeah.
didn't look at the date. So yeah, I got fooled.
Yeah,
I-
it was April. It was,
I
it was clearly
broke-
an old
yeah,
April Fool's joke.
and that was the biggest. It wasn't even that it was April 1st. The fact that it's a 2015.
Yeah.
Right.
So
But-
it must
and-
have been
it's supposed-
right around when Daredevil was
First
premiered
premiered.
last year that someone had put it out there as this fake article. So yeah, I got taken.
Poe's Law.
I broke Shauna's heart. I don't think she's ever talking to me again.
Yeah, she's a huge.
That's why
Moon
she's
Knight
no longer
fan.
coming to the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's Poe's law.
It started
Like
a
Poe's
very-
internet law where you can't tell sort of the sarcasm or extremism
Right.
from reality.
Well, that's the
without
thing.
any
It's not even.
tone.
It's not posted as a sarcastic thing.
No.
That's the one where the
and it's all
the
logical.
news
it's
site.
all
There
logical
was a
choices,
news
too.
program that came on with the Onion article about the kid who refused to play soccer because it was gay.
Yeah.
And the Onion did this article of a kid like back east who I don't play soccer because it's gay. Not that there's gay people or anything. It was just that was the article. Well, a news station put that article on the air.
Yeah.
Saying, this is the society now that this kid thinks that something is, that soccer is filled with homosexuals. Like, you didn't even check it's the Onion. Like you knew it was the Onion. And the tone of the article was obviously satire. There's no satire in this article.
Well,
It
there was no
just,
satire in the Star Wars Blu-ray Christmas edition.
Oh yes, there was.
No, there wasn't.
You're still. That one was still.
Rich,
that-
look at the date.
That's the greatest thing ever. When he fell for every year for years, Lucasfilm on April 1st would drop some fake news story. There was one about Willow was a planet in the Star Wars universe. There was one of like something else was going to be canon, but then before the Blu-ray releases was that the Christmas special, holiday special would be on the Blu-ray.
I do want it though.
It's,
It'd be
go to
terrible.
YouTube. It's
Have
all
you
over the
ever
web.
seen it?
Yes, I have seen that, and they had the Droids animated movie, they had the Ewoks animated one, and then the other Ewoks.
Find the
live-action.
Ewoks live action.
Which
You want
is
something
super weird.
really bad.
I
It's really
still
weird.
like those.
But anyway, so Rich
The completionist in me wants them.
puts out, it's like something like, oh, we're getting the holiday special, and I said, what's the date? Because it was on April 1st. And he says, I don't know. It doesn't
doesn't have
say.
a release
It doesn't say
date.
when it has a release date. No, Rich, what's the date? October sometime. This is text back and forth. Rich, in big capitals, what's the fucking date? It doesn't say it, Chris. It doesn't really. No, what is today? Today's April, and you can see it in the text message. Today's April 1st. ... Damn it. Like right now, it was just great. Like as he's texting, as he's typing it, going, "Oh fuck me." You fell for it. So
I
hard.
fell hard
I
for
fell
that
for
one.
this one, but at least it wasn't.
Hey, it's Stick. There we go. Look, there's so many great actors in this movie.
All I know is that message when it came through. We'd laid down to go to
Hunt
bed.
for Red October is still on.
Yes.
In case you're wondering, audience.
Yeah, we'd laid
This
down.
is why we
were
have to
going
do the
sleep.
movie one, where it's just like,
Oh, I
sync-
want to do that.
do the sync, and like, okay, we're starting the titles now, and here we go, and we're gonna watch. I kind of want to do Age of Extinction. 'cause
I was
it's
thinking that.
so bad.
I was thinking.
It's the worst film I've ever seen.
I was thinking either that or TMNT.
I refuse to see TMNT.
Really,
No.
I want to do something we haven't seen. That
No,
we
it's more
know
fun
is
when
bad.
you see it because you kind of know what's coming.
Yeah, but even when you don't, when you see it for the first
That's
time,
not going to be.
fine.
You're going to cut the hell out of that because it's just going to be us watching the screen going,
What the fuck?
huh? Like watching
Like
Age of
Fantastic
Extinction, we
Four?
can sit there and go, okay, so here's the mercenary character. Pay attention because there's no reason he should be here. That sort of thing.
Should we do a shot every time that Mark Wahlberg says he's an inventor?
No, because you'll be on the floor. I'll be
Well,
the
it's a
only one
Transformer.
left.
It's a Transformer.
Okay, everybody else here is passed out on the floor, and we're 5 minutes into the movie.
It's a
I know what this
Transformer.
is. It's a Transformer.
I'm an
Hey, Optimus,
inventor.
how you doing? Say hi to Bumblebee for
How's
me.
your mother?
How's your mother?
So on that note, we're going to wrap things up. We'll be back next week with more news and topics, even though I think we just covered all the news and topics this week.
I don't think we covered anything. I'm pretty sure we just threw a whole bunch of stuff out there.
Uh,
We'll be back next week with a little more. No, we won't be
No,
back next week.
WonderCon's next week. We'll do a Monday show
Maybe.
with a WonderCon wrap up.
Maybe. I don't know if I can do Monday because I'll probably be at work all day.
Okay, so we'll end up doing. Well, I may not because I'll be. Yeah. Oh no, we can still do it. That'd be good.
We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out.
I'd say we do stuff at WonderCon, but we say that every year, and then we get 5 minutes into WonderCon and go, we're not going to do anything.
Yeah. We'll see.
We're gonna get
Maybe we'll do something.
super early on Saturday to try to make that rebirth panel.
Yes.
Because I told somebody we should apply for press badges, and they said no. And then last week said, "Oh, that's a good idea. Where's the article?"
So, anyways, make sure you check us out at facebook.com/nerdables.
Just rolls right past that.
We're also on Twitter at Nerdables Show.
In the third gear.
And we're going to completely ignore Chris on that. Make sure you also check out the Walking Dead cast. We brought that back.
Are you actually going to do that today?
We did. We did it last week.
I know you did it last week. Are you going to do it today?
Yeah.
All
You
right.
going to stick around for it?
No.
No.
We're playing X-Wing.
Well, Ethan and I are going to do it while you're playing X-Wing.
I don't know if we're going to have time to watch it and do while play X-Wing.
All right.
Sounds-
So,
I mean,
so as we figure out our schedule,
We'll play X-Wings while they're watching Walking Dead.
as we're figuring out the schedule, we're going to let you go because you don't care about that.
Reading schedule.
Yeah, I love
Are
how
you actually
all
going
our
to eat
listeners are gonna be
what are those there?
Wheaton.
You brought out the
Wheatons.
You brought out Wheatons.
I didn't think everybody
Well,
appreciated
then
me
why would
doing
you
it
just why
on
would
the
you bring
mic.
them out?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I love how our listeners are part of our decision making process.
And I-
So let's go ahead and wrap this up.
Well, I wish they would actually give us some kind of like feedback. So
Yes,
they
tell
could
us
be,
tomorrow what we're going
Tell
to
us
do
tomorrow
tonight.
if we should eat the Wheatons that are sitting on the table here.
All right.
Text 8705.
For yes,
Because our one Periscope experiment didn't work because nobody knows we're on Periscope.
870.
I think we're gonna do a live stream though soon.
Boy.